It is very seldom the mere ordinary people like you and me secure ancestral halls this season. A colonial mansion, a hereditary estate, I would say a haunted house and reach the height of romantic felicity, but that would be asking too much of fate. Still, I do declare that there is something queer about it. Else, why should it be let so cheaply, and why have stood so long untenanted?
Why, Charlotte, there is no need for any of that. This is not one of those novels you were so fond of reading. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go check in on the movers downstairs. I'll be able to see you shortly.
You know, John laughs at me, of course, but one expects that in marriage. He is practical and extreme. He has no patience with faith, an intense horror of superstition, and he scoffs openly at any talk of things that cannot be felt and seen and put down in figures. Perhaps it's because he's a physician. I wouldn't say it to another living soul, of course, but perhaps that's why I do not get well faster. You see, he does not believe that I am sick.
Now, if that were so, ma'am, then why would he have taken all the time to move you all the way out here? And to take a temporary position in town? I'd say for a man like your husband, to leave his practice like he did, clearly he takes your condition very seriously indeed.
He humors me, that's true, but I think he resents me all the same. And he certainly does not believe that there is anything the matter with me that cannot be fixed if I just discipline my mind. But what is one to do? If a physician of high standing and one's own husband assures friends and relatives that there's nothing the matter than a nervous depression, a slight hysterical tendency, then what is one to do? So I'll take his phosphates and phosphites, whichever it is, and tonics and journeys and air and exercise, and I'm absolutely forbidden to work until I'm okay. Personally, I disagree with your ideas. Personally, I believe that congenial work with excitement and change would do me good. But what is one to do?
I'm sure I don't know, ma'am, but you should take to your husband's advice. If you'll excuse me, I'd like to see how they're progressing in the kitchen.
Of course. I did write for a while in spite of them, and Jenny was a great help in keeping me supplied with paper and such. But it does exhaust me a good deal, having to be too sly about it, else met with heavy opposition. I often fancy if I had less opposition and more society and stimulus, but John always says, my dear, the very worst thing you can do is to think about your condition. I confess it always makes me feel bad, so I'll let it alone and talk about the house. The most beautiful place. It reminds me of those English places you read about in books, for there are walls and hedges and gates that walk, and lots of separate little houses for the gardeners and people. There's a delicious garden. I've never seen such a garden. It is large and shady, full of box-bordered paths and lined with long, great covered arbors with seats under them. There were greenhouses too, but they're all broken now. That spoils my ghostliness, I'm afraid, but I do not care. There's something strange about this house. I can feel it.
There is nothing unusual about this place. There was some legal trouble, I believe, something about the heirs and co-heirs, but anyhow, the place has been empty for years. What you are feeling is a draft.
I'm sure I never used to feel this way. Perhaps it's due to this nervous condition.
My dear, if you continue like this, you shall neglect proper self-control. And I shan't remind you again of the toll it will take on your health.
Yes, you're right, of course. But it still makes me so very tired. John, I don't like our room one bit. Can we take one of the rooms downstairs? The one that overlooks the piazza. There's such beautiful roses outside the window and those pretty old-fashioned...
No, I will not hear of it. This is not a question of decor, but rather a medical matter. Besides, it only has the one window and hardly room for two beds, and there is no other room nearby for me to take whenever you become overly excited.
John, you're very careful and loving, but you hardly let me stir without special direction. It seems I have a scheduled prescription for each hour in the day.
We came here solely on your account, my dear, so that you might have perfect rest and all the air you can get.
I know.
Your exercise depends on your strength and your food somewhat on your appetite, but air you can absorb all the time.
take such care of me. In fact, you take all care from me. I feel basely ungrateful not to value it more.
I'll send Jenny and help you settle it. I believe you should be alone tonight. But I'll be back again to say goodnight.
It is a big, airy room. There are windows that look all ways, and air and sunshine galore. It was a nursery first, and then a playroom and gymnasium. I should judge, for the windows are barred for little children, and there are rings and things in the walls. The paper looks as if a boys' school had used it, for it's torn in a great spot above the head of my bed, and in a place on the other side of the room low down. Have you ever seen a worse paper in your life?
No, ma'am.
One of those sprawling, flamboyant patterns committing every artistic sin.
Here you are, ma'am.
It is dull enough to confuse the eye in following, pronounced enough to constantly irritate and provoke study. And when you follow the lame, uncertain curves for a little distance, they suddenly commit suicide, plunging off at outrageous angles, destroying themselves in unheard-of contradictions.
Good night, ma'am. Good night.
The color is a dull, lurid orange in some places, a sickly sulfur tint in others, and a smoldering, unclean yellow slowly faded by the slow-turning sunlight.
Good night, my dear.
Good night. We've been here 3 weeks and I haven't felt like writing before, since that first day. I'm sitting up in this atrocious nursery now and there's nothing to hinder my writing as much as I please, save for lack of strength. John is away most days and even some nights when his cases are serious. I'm glad my case is not serious, though these nervous troubles are dreadfully depressing. John does not know how much I really suffer. He knows that I have no reason to suffer, and that satisfies him. Of course, it is only nervousness, but it does weigh on me so not to do my duty in any way. I meant to be such a help to John, a real rest and comfort, and here I am, a comparative burden already. No one would believe how much of an effort it is to do what little I am able, to dress and entertain, order things. Who is it? Hi, Mary. Whatever brings you up here?
Oh, I thought you might want to see the baby. Seeing how it's been so long now, I decided I would bring her up to see her mother.
How wonderful. How fortunate it is that you're so good with the baby, Mary. Such a dear baby. Whatever is its name?
But ma'am, I mean, seeing how it's your own and all, Julia, ma'am, after your cousin?
Yes. I know.
Would you like to hold her, ma'am?
No! I mean, I don't think I should. It's just, it makes me so very nervous, you know, and babies are so delicate. Perhaps when I'm better.
Yes, ma'am. I've been taking very good care of her, and she's growing up so fast. Why, it seems just the other day.
Yes, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
Mary, why don't you take the baby down to the nursery? Thank you, dear. Yes, ma'am.
just a moment.
Of course. Your husband is downstairs. I believe he has a surprise for you?
Really? I thought he was to be in town for the day.
Yes, but he came in just a moment ago and...
Ah, there you are. Oh, well, my dear. How are you today?
Well, she's well, sir. In fact, she was just visiting with the baby.
Is that so? But what good news. Thank you, Jenny. I believe you are needed downstairs. Is that true? Then I suppose the house is doing you some good after all. And all your talk of renovation, as if we should bother to renovate the house for only 3 months' rental.
Yes, I am doing better, though I was a little low just a moment ago. It just makes me so very nervous, you know. I suppose you're never nervous in your life, and with the way you still laugh at me about things, especially about this wallpaper.
Not this again. I don't like it any more than you do. I meant to repay for the room when we first moved in, but you are letting it get the better of you. There is nothing worse for a nervous patient than to give way to flights of fancies. First we would start with the wallpaper, and then the bedstead, then getting the head of the stairs, and where would it stop?
Then leave the room the way that it is. But do let us move downstairs. There are such pretty rooms down there.
I would go down to the cellar if you wished, and have it whitewashed in the bargain.
I suppose you're right about the bed and windows and things. The room is very comfortable. I shouldn't complain.
No, but I forgive you, and I have a surprise for you.
A surprise? John,
I brought your cousins, Henry and Julia, down for a visit. Jenny is attending them in the parlor right now.
Our cousins?
My dear, I thought you'd be happy to see them. I mean, you've been asking me to have them down almost since we arrived.
Of course. I was just surprised is all. Thank you so much for bringing them. It will do me such good to see them again. I'll ready myself and be down in just a moment.
No, they will come up to see you. After all, they know you are resting and wouldn't wish to trouble you.
But
just sit down and don't relax yourself.
what about...
Jenny, please escort our guests up.
John, surely...
Charlotte, I will not abide any more discussion. There is nothing wrong with this room, and we shall abide them here. And remember, I brought them here at your insistence against my better judgment. Do not make me regret my decision.
Well, Charlotte, what a pleasure to see you looking so well. To listen to John here, you'd think the Reaper almost had you in his grasp. The old man always was rather grim. John, that is. I suppose the Reaper is always, well, never mind. And what a house. Just the place, I think, for you to rest and recover.
Oh, my darling, and how is the baby, dear heart? John said she'd rather colicky for some time, but that Mary's got her back to right, you know, my own.
Yes, Cousin Henry! The house is quite restful and very lovely this time of year. And I get such a marvelous view from the window. I get a lovely view of the bay and the little wharf belonging to the estate. And there's a beautiful shaded lane running down there from the house. I always fancy I see people walking in those paths and arbors, but John has cautioned me not to give way to fancy in the least.
Yes. With your imagination and penchant for storytelling, a nervous weakness like yours can lead to all manners of excited fancies. She ought to use her goodwill and sense to check the tendency.
Well, I dare say the good doctor is right. You should have seen me when we two first met during the war, practically blown to bits.
Henry, really?
Well, I was. But Johnny here put me back together in no time at all. Best doctor you could hope for.
Honestly, Henry, but really, my dear, this is truly a lovely countryside. That shaded road we came in on, full of great elms and overlooking that meadow. Oh, one can almost imagine that meadow is made of velvet.
Yes, it's all quite wonderful. Except for this room.
My dear,
Oh, the furniture in this room is no worse than inharmonious. You see, we had to bring most of it from downstairs. I suppose when they made it a playroom, they had to take all the nursery things out, and no wonder. I've never seen such ravages as the children made here. But I don't mind a bit. Only the paper.
Charlotte!
Good
But I must not
heavens.
think about
I
that.
had no idea it was like this. I'm terribly sorry.
No, it's I who should be sorry. I knew better than to be this lax with her. The rest cure should be absolute, and I've allowed her far too many stimulating activities. I shall have to restrain her to the house for a time, and only allow her visitors when I feel certain that she is responding to treatment. Perhaps I'm too close to her to see it clearly. Perhaps I should send her to Dr. Mitchell after all.
Nonsense. How could a stranger know what is good for her better than you?
It's just, she still won't see the baby. And if she does, it positively destroys her for days on end. And what is her excuse? Not to be a mother to her own child, to neglect me as her husband? Think of what you and I have seen. My first day in the war, and I had to saw a man's arm off. The ether hadn't even arrived yet, and it took 4 men to restrain him, and he still died later that day. And the things that came after, what has she suffered in comparison? She was tending towards nervousness even before the baby. Frailty, thy name indeed is woman.
Yes, but recall that they are in truth the weaker vessel, and not just physically, old boy. It does you no good to kick against the pricks, as they say.
Yes, I know. But she speaks incessantly of her desire for work and satisfaction with her lot, but she seems unable to rise to the work for which she is most suited for. Being a wife and mother. Yes, I know. Well, it may have not been a help to Charlotte to have you here, but it has certainly been a help to me. I shall simply have to remember my vows, in sickness and in health. No. I must steel myself to be your doctor first and not let my husband's concern interfere with her treatment.
We had best go. I can see we there not a help. It was good to see you again, John. And we've met in worse circumstances. Remember that.
Indeed.
Julia, we should go. We wouldn't want to miss the afternoon train. Besides, Cousin Charlotte needs a rest.
Yes, of course. One my dear, do not worry so about these things. You're in the best of hands, and my prayers have been with you.
Yes. The best of hands. The best of hands. The best of hands.
Well, I don't even know what to say.
It was lovely to have Cousin Henry and Julia come down. We should do it again sometime. A long visit, perhaps?
I'd rather put firecrackers through your pillowcase than let you have those stimulating people about now.
John.
We've taken a step backwards today. I shan't forget it. From now on, your rest must be total. No visitors, no leaving the ground, certainly no writing. I'm sorry, my dear. The failure is mine, but we shall put it to rights. No more thought on the issue. I must get to town. I have cases to attend. I'll send Jenny up to see me.
No writing. No visitors. He doesn't know everything! He doesn't know that I write in spite of him. Sometimes, at least. I often think that if I could write a little more, it would relieve the press of ideas inside me and rest me a little. But I find I get pretty tired when I try. Jenny,
Yes, ma'am.
have you ever thought about what your life would be like
If what, ma'am?
what would you do if you could do anything at all in the world?
Oh, I try not to think about those sorts of things. I try to stay focused on the task at hand.
Come, for my sake, tell me, anything at all, what would you do?
Well, I suppose I wouldn't want to work for a living. Not that I'm ungrateful, of course. But I suppose I wouldn't mind being somebody to look up to be able to take my ease, to read books, to see shows. Yes, I would love to be able to see shows. Whenever I wanted, or walk outside in a nice garden. During the day, to have a nice family to come home to, and to see my children in the evenings, and...
Don't you want to dedicate yourself to some cause? Make some change in the world?
Oh.
Don't you want to do something?
In all honesty, ma'am, I spend nearly all my waking hours doing things. I would like to know what it feels like not to have to do something.
Yes. Like me. Like me.
Now, ma'am, I didn't mean it like that.
Don't apologize. You shouldn't have to. If anyone should, it's me. How self-centered we become when... What was that? What? Behind you! I saw something move, a shape!
I don't see anything.
No? Well, you're right. John's right. You're both right.
Can I do something for you, ma'am?
No, Jenny. You've done enough. Thank you. That's all over. The people are all gone and I'm tired out. John thought it would be good to let me see a little company, so he had Cousin Henry and Juliet come down. Except, John doesn't think it was very good for me. Of course, I didn't do a thing. Jenny sees to everything now, but it tired me all the same. John says if I don't pick up faster, he'll send me to Dr. Mitchell in the fall. But I don't want to go there at all. I had a friend who was in his hands once, and she says he is just like John, only more so. Besides, it is such an undertaking to go so far. I don't want to feel as if I've turned my hands over for anything, and I'm getting dreadfully fretful and querulous. I cry at nothing and cry most of the time. Of course I don't when John is here, or anyone else for that matter, but when I'm alone. John spends most nights in town, and Jenny is good and lets me alone when I need her to, so I walk a little in the garden and down that lovely lane, sit on the porch beneath the roses, and lie down up here a good deal. I study that pattern about by the hour. I start, we'll say, down in the corner, where it has not been touched. And I determine that I will follow that pattern until I come to some sort of a conclusion. It makes me tired to follow it. I will take a nap, I guess. Oh my, let me guess. Don't tell me. Baked fish with a light cream sauce, a glass of white wine, lima beans and onions, followed by a cabbage salad, and finished off with peaches and grapes, a slice of cake sprinkled with nuts, and a cup of hot black coffee. Am I right?
That sounds delicious, but, well,
Yes, well, what horrors are in store for me this time?
nothing too terrible. Cold tongue, set a biscuit and hominy, and a glass of cold ale.
You know, I don't understand medicine. One would think that if I'm to be treated like an infant, I should be fed some sort of mashed vegetable, not like some Viking in a meat hall.
That has crossed my mind as well, but Dr. Mitchell prescribes this diet.
Yes, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Mitchell. John speaks of him almost as much as this Freud fellow. If you ask me, I think they're both ghastly.
You would know more than I would, ma'am.
Jenny, I'm not the slightest bit hungry. And if I eat any more rare meat, I shall positively go mad. I might just turn into a wolf and start howling at the moon.
I shouldn't be doing this, but I saved you a little something from the kitchen.
Tell me immediately.
Okay, just this little sliver of rhubarb pie. But you must promise that you will drink your cod liver oil and tonic.
Oh, no, what's about the tonic? Simply delightful.
But you won't tell Mr.
Oh, of course I wouldn't. I would be in more trouble than you. Dear John, he loves me dearly and hates to have me sick. I tried to have a real, earnest, reasonable talk with him the other day and tell him how I would wish he would let me see Cousin Henry and Julia. But he said I wasn't able to go, nor able to stand it once I got there. I'm afraid I didn't make a very good case for myself, for I was crying before I'd even finished. It is getting to be very difficult for me to think straight. Just this nervous weakness, I suppose. What was I saying?
I should have brought you this pie. I should have listened to the doctor. And
What harm can pie do? Besides, if anything's to blame, it's this horrid wallpaper.
oh, ma'am.
But there's one comfort, and that is that the baby is happy and healthy. Mary told me herself this morning. And since I'm occupying this room, that blessed child doesn't have to. I wouldn't have a child of mine, an impressionable little thing, live in such a room for worlds. You know, Jenny, I've never thought about it before, but it's good that John brought me here. I can handle it so much better than a baby, you see.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure you can. Please excuse me.
Of course, I never mention it to them anymore. I'm too wise. But I keep watch of it all the same. You see, there are things in this paper that nobody knows but me, or ever will. Behind that dimmed up pattern, the shapes get clearer and clearer every day. It's the same shape, only very numerous. And it is like a woman, stooping down and creeping behind that pattern. I wonder, I begin to think, I wish John would take me away from here.
My dear, what is it? You're supposed to be confined to bed today. Don't go walking about like that. You'll surely catch a cold.
John, it's all right. It really is all right. Only, I'm not really gaining here. I do wish that you would take me away.
My darling, our lease will be up in 3 weeks and I can't see how to leave before. Besides, the repairs at home are not yet finished and I can't possibly leave town just now. Of course, if you were in any danger, I could and would, but you really are better, my dear. Whether you can see it or not, I am a doctor, dear, and I know. You're gaining flesh and color, your appetite is better, and I really feel much easier about you.
I don't weigh a bit more, or even as much. And my appetite is better in the mornings when you are here, but it is worse in the evenings when you're away.
Oh, bless her little heart. She shall be as sick as she pleases. But let's improve the hours by going to bed. We'll talk about it in the morning.
You won't go away?
Why, how can I? It is only 3 weeks more, and then we'll take a nice little trip of a few days while Jenny gets the house ready. Really, dear, you are better.
Better in body, perhaps.
My darling, I beg of you, for my sake and for our child's sake, and as well as for your own, that you will never, for one instant, let that idea enter your mind. There is nothing so dangerous, so fascinating to a temperament like yours. It is a false and foolish fancy. Can you not trust me as a physician when I tell you so?
Of course. And certainly for the sake of our child.
Well, it does my heart good to hear you say that. Let's turn in, dear heart. I have a long day of cases in town tomorrow, and I'm sure the extra rest will do you good.
Yes, dear.
wrong?
There! There, you see her!
See her? Oh, what the devil are you talking about?
There! Over there, a woman!
Where? Charlotte, have you lost your senses? You must be having a dream.
No, I lay here for hours trying to decide.
Decide? Decide what?
Whether the front pattern and the back pattern really did move together separately.
What? But Charlotte, have you lost your mind? Come back to bed, Charlotte. Charlotte!
John? What are you doing up so late? No, you should get some rest. Yes, you have such important cases to attend to in the morning.
Let me help you up, Charlotte. My darling.
Yes. Everything will be all right. Soon I'll be free of this. Soon I'll be free. On a pattern like this, by daylight, there is a lack of sequence, a defiance of law that is a constant irritant to a normal mind. The color is hideous enough and unreliable enough and infuriating enough, but the pattern is torturing. You think you've mastered it, and then just as you get well underway in following it, there's a back somersault, and there you are. It slaps you in the face, knocks you down, tramples upon you. It is like a bad dream. If you can imagine a toadstool in joints, an interminable string of toadstools, then that is something like it. That is sometimes. There is one marked peculiarity about this paper. Something that no one seemed to notice but myself. And that is that it changes as the light changes. When the sun shoots in through the east window, and I always look for that first long, straight ray, I wouldn't know it was the same paper, especially at night, when the moon shines in. It shines in all night when there is a moon. At night, and any kind of light. Twilight, candlelight, lamplight, worst of all, by moonlight it becomes bars. And the woman behind the paper is as plain as day. I think it's the pattern that keeps her so still. It's so puzzling. It keeps me quiet by the hour. I lie down ever so much now. John says it's good for me and to rest all I can. He started the habit by making me lie down for an hour after each meal. It is a bad habit, I'm convinced, for I don't sleep. And that cultivates deceit because I don't tell them I'm awake. Oh no. You see, I'm getting a little afraid of John. He's gotten so queer now, and even Ginny has an inexplicable look. It strikes me occasionally, just as a scientific hypothesis, that perhaps it is the paper.
Ma'am, I'll be turning in for the night soon. Can I get you anything? Ma'am? Well then, good night.
What are you doing? What? What are you doing? What are you doing with the paper?
Nothing. I don't know why you should have frightened me so.
Don't you sound innocent? What were you doing?
Just smoothing this piece of paper. But while you mentioned it, well, the paper it stains everything it touches. I found little yellow spots all over your clothes. Forgive me, ma'am. I just wish you would be more careful. There's only so much I can do to get the stains out.
You were studying that pattern, weren't you? I saw that you were.
I don't know what you mean, ma'am.
And I don't blame you. It is the strangest yellow, that paper. It reminds me of all the yellow things I ever saw. Not beautiful ones like buttercups, but old, foul, bad yellow things.
I can't say I care for it either, ma'am.
There's something else about the paper. The smell. I noticed it when we first came into the room. With so much air and sun, it was not so bad, but now we've had a week of fog and rain, and whether the windows are open or not, it's everywhere. It creeps all over the house.
Now, ma'am, I beg your pardon, but it is simply just the smell of...
It's everywhere. I find it hovering in the dining room, skulking in the parlor, hiding in the hall, lying in wait for me on the stairs. It gets into my hair. It's such a peculiar odor, too. It's not bad at first, but the subtlest, most enduring odor I've ever met.
Now, ma'am, it is simply just this damp weather.
Oh, this weather just increases the awfulness. I wake up at night to find it hovering over me. It used to disturb me at first. I thought seriously of burning down the house just to reach that smell.
Ma'am!
But now I'm used to it. And the only thing that I can think of that dislike is the color of the paper. A yellow smell.
Yes, well, I had best get to bed.
Yes. Go. But don't ever think about touching that paper again, or look at it too closely. I know you were studying that pattern, and I'm convinced that no one shall find it out but myself.
Jenny, is everything all right?
Yes, sir. Everything is as it should be.
Perhaps Charlotte should have her evening walk. In the garden, mind you, no farther.
Yes, sir. I'll just tell the kitchen maid we'll be right out.
Yes, do. My dear, are you truly well?
Why? Don't I look it? Aren't I the picture of health?
You do appear to be much better. In body, that is, I mean.
You know, there's a funny mark on this wall, low down, near the mopboard. A streak that runs all around the room. A long, straight, even smooch that looks like it's been rubbed over and over. I wonder who did it, and why they did it, and what they did it for. Round and round and round and round, it makes me dizzy. Round and round and round.
Charlotte!
Yes, dear? Whatever is the matter?
Nothing. We shall be leaving this place soon. Does that please you? The lease is almost up.
Of course! I can't wait to go home and see all of our old friends, if only our new. Oh, John, I simply can't wait to return. Thank you for treating me with such patience so that I might get well.
Here's your straw, darling.
Ma'am, are you ready for your walk?
Yes. Do stretch your legs some, my dear. Keep her out for a while. I'm going to have some of the servants remove some of the furnishings. I don't trust you if you're alone anymore. She belongs where we're going next.
Yes, sir.
At least for a time. Until she can get well.
Yes, sir. Ma'am?
Are you coming, Jenny?
I'm right behind you.
someone there? Wait, Mary, come in. Is the baby sleeping?
Yes, sir. She sleeps a lot these days when she's not eating. Though I've never seen a baby that's made so little fuss.
How I wish her mother were the same. What can I do for you, Mary?
Oh, nothing. I just saw you come up the stairs and you looked so upset. And I heard shouting. I just wanted to make sure you were all right.
Is that so? Well, I suppose I'm as well as I can be.
It's just, I admire the way you've borne up all these troubles. And while still managing to keep up with all of your patients in town, and with Madam being no help to you.
What?
Oh,
How dare you!
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to speak ill of Miss Charlotte. I just see how you suffer, and oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I should not have snapped you. Here, take a seat. Let me help you. Yeah, that's better. How selfish we become in times of trouble. How often we fail the test. My dear, forgive me. Tell me about your own child. What is her name again?
Elizabeth, after my mother.
And what is Elizabeth like?
Well, she's 2 years old now. She has little blonde ringlets and blue eyes. I haven't seen her in some time now. She stays with my sister while I work. You're so kind. Your eyes remind me of my husband's. Rest him. Such a kindness in those eyes.
Mary, you are needed in the nursery.
Yes, ma'am.
I've decided. I finally found out. The front pattern does move. The woman behind shakes it. I sometimes think there are many great women behind, and sometimes only one. And she crawls around very fast, and her crawling shakes it all over. She's all the time trying to climb through that pattern. But nobody could climb through that pattern. It strangles so. I think that's why it has so many bulbous heads. If they were chopped or lopped off, it would not be so bad. John has taken another room and spends most nights in town, but I don't mind a bit. I don't want anyone to get that woman out at night except me. She is not to be trusted. I think she's been stealing things from me. Fortunately, I hid some writing things under the mattress. If I couldn't write, I would really go mad. But I don't have enough time. We're leaving tomorrow, so I must get the woman out before then. I'm just the thing, too. I was too clever. I still have my pen. I'm going to pry her out with it. No one can stop me. Who is it?
It's me, ma'am. company.
John is coming up for the night?
No, but he thought I might stay with you and keep you company instead.
No, I think that shall rest better for a night on alone.
Of course, ma'am. Well then, good night.
Jenny,
Yes, ma'am?
aren't you going to kiss me goodnight?
Of course, ma'am.
Ma'am, what are you doing? Get that back! Ma'am! I'm going to get your husband. Ma'am! Josh, you locked the door! Oh, I was too clever. How you betrayed yourselves. No one touches that paper alive. Other than me. All those shrinkled heads and bulbous eyes and waddling fungus. You won't interfere with my dreaming about.
Charlotte, open this door!
It's no use, young man. You can't open it.
Keep running the act!
John, you would be ashamed to ruin such a beautiful door. The key is right by the front steps under a plantain leaf.
Open the door, my Charlie.
I can't. The key is down by the front steps, right under a plantain leaf.
Charlotte! What the devil is the matter with you? Have you lost your senses?
I've got out of laugh. In spite of you, Ginny. And I cried out some of the papers so you can't put me back.
I've had enough of this, Charlotte! You worthless excuse for a woman!
Now where should that man have fainted? Right across the path of the wall. I'll simply have to creep